The next output of the direct and manage project execution process is project management plan updates. Any approved change request being implemented will require the project management plan to be updated. The updates could be in the subsidiary plans or in the baselines. We will now look at the next process, monitor and control project work. Monitoring refers to collecting, measuring, distributing, and analyzing performance information. Analyzing performance information results in change requests, which is the primary output of this process. Monitoring and controlling of project work happens throughout the project lifecycle. Monitoring of project work happens throughout the project lifecycle. Keeping a close watch on project performance leads to early diagnosis and issue resolution. Controlling project work refers to ensuring that only approved change requests are implemented. Let's look at the first input for the monitor and control project work process, project management plan. Think of the reasons as to why is the project management plan an input for this process. The project management plan contains information about the planned deliverables. When monitoring the project work, the project management plan is used to compare the actual work to identify if there are any differences. Identifying these differences and recommending change requests is the primary focus of this process. The second input is performance reports. Performance reports contain formal data on the actuals in a project. The primary output of this process is change requests. Change requests are recommendations to deal with issues. Following the comparison between the plans and actual, recommendations are proposed. These recommendations, if implemented, are likely to change the project management plan and hence will have to go through the Perform Integrated Change Control process for approval. The change requests, as a result of comparing the plan and the actual, is intended to narrow the difference. We will now look at the next process, Perform Integrated Change Control. The Perform Integrated Change Control process is about evaluating, approving, and managing change requests. Perform Integrated Change Control is about evaluating, approving, and managing all change requests in the project. All change requests go into this process for approval. The Integrated Change Control process starts with an evaluation or review of the change requests. The impact of the change request on other project objectives are analyzed. Following the analysis, a decision is made on the status of the change request. The decision could be to approve or disapprove or request for additional information. Following the decision, the change request has to be managed accordingly. Managing in this context refers to communicating and handling the decision outcome. Changes should always be documented and processed into existing change management systems. The original change can arise from any source and in any form. However, the change has to be recorded in a formal manner and processed into the change management system. Some organizations have a change control board. The change control board is a function with authority to approve or reject changes. The actual process of approving, rejecting changes are documented in the change control procedures. Change control that is centrally managed to provide for an efficient and standardized approval and rejection is called Configuration Management System. Let's now look at the inputs for the process Integrated Change Control. The first input is the Project Management Plan. Think of why the Project Management Plan is required as an input here. The change requests have to be evaluated keeping in mind the baselines. The baselines are a part of the project management plan. The second input is the work performance information. A change request has to be viewed in perspective of the work performed. Details about the work performed is contained in the work performance information. The third and most important input is change requests. Change requests are an output of all the controlling processes and most of the executing processes. All change requests have to be put through the integrated change control process. Pause for a second to go through the change request flow through the integrated change control process. Let's look at the tool for the Perform Integrated Change Control process. Expert Judgment, which is a tool for all the integration management processes, refers to suggestions, advice, and knowledge obtained from people or parties with relevant expertise in specific areas. In this process, inviting experts to be a part of the Change Control Board is considered as expert judgment. Change control meetings include discussions to evaluate, review, and approve change requests. Let's now look at the outputs of this process. The key output is the change request status updates. The status of a change request could be either approved or it could be rejected. The result should be communicated to the appropriate stakeholders to ensure that a rejected change request is not implemented by mistake. The project management plan needs to be updated. If any of the baselines are changed as a result of implementing an approved change request, this needs to be reflected in the project management plan. We will now look at the final process in the integration management knowledge area. Close project or phase. Close project or phase includes formally closing activities for the project or phase by finalizing all the activities across all process groups. The close project process produces procedures that contain step-by-step instructions for closure. Let's look at the inputs to this process. The project management plan. The project management plan contains information about how to perform closing and hence is an input. The next input for closing a project or phase is accepted deliverables. Accepted deliverables are required to verify completion. Deliverables could take the form of a product, service, or result. Let's now look at the tools and techniques for this process. Expert judgment. We have seen this tool in most processes now. Like the name suggests, expert judgment is the expertise or knowledge derived from qualified sources. This primarily includes subject matter experts. People or entities with knowledge and experience can play the role of experts and offer valuable advice or suggestions in project decisions. Think of the nature of expertise required for closing the project or phase. Let's look at the outputs for the process. starting with final product, service or result. The final product, service or result. This needs to undergo formal acceptance and handover. The formal acceptance and handover is provided in the form of a formal statement confirming completion of the deliverable.